The WNBA has always had its share of officiating controversies, but what just leaked might be the most damning revelation yet. For years, fans brushed off missed calls and questionable whistles as human error, but this time the excuse of incompetence might not fly. A newly leaked audio recording has people wondering if the game itself is being manipulated from the top down. The whispers suggest it isn't just bad refereeing, it could be a full-blown system of favoritism, bribery, and rigging linked directly to the commissioner's office. And when you line it up with the way Caitlin Clark has been treated game after game, the pattern suddenly becomes a lot harder to ignore. The audio allegedly points to a roster of referees who've been receiving secret paychecks connected to Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. Not standard salaries either, but consulting bonuses, travel stipends, and off-book incentives handed out after controversial games. If true, it suggests referees weren't just making mistakes, they were being guided, even rewarded, for making the kinds of calls that shaped outcomes. In a league already fighting for legitimacy, this isn't just another bad look. This is the kind of scandal that could collapse the fragile trust of both fans and sponsors in an instant. And the timing of the leak couldn't be more explosive. Caitlin Clark, the brightest star to hit women's basketball in decades, has become a lightning rod for controversy. She's been hacked, shoved, and targeted all season long, often without so much as a whistle in her favor. The refereeing has been so one-sided at times that fans already suspected something bigger was at play. Now, with this recording out in the open, people are asking if the silence around Clark's treatment is deliberate, a top-down directive to keep her from overshadowing the league's chosen faces. You only need to look back at a few recent games to see why people are outraged. Take the closing seconds of Fever vs. Liberty, a nail-biter that came down to one final possession. Sophie Cunningham inbounded the ball to Clark, who had just 1 second to create a miracle shot. She never got the chance. A Liberty defender locked her up with clear contact, stripping the ball before Clark could even elevate. No whistle. No foul. Just a stunned arena watching as the Liberty walked away with a 90-88 win. That single no call didn't just cost Indiana the game, it ignited the fury of everyone who saw it. How could something so blatant be ignored unless the refs were looking the other way on purpose? And it wasn't an isolated incident. In the playoffs against the Connecticut Sun, Clark launched one of her signature deep threes, only to be knocked off balance by DeWanna Bonner's aggressive contest. She looked straight at the ref, expecting the obvious call. Instead, silence. Shot clock violation. A similar theme played out against Seattle, where she took repeated hits on drives, absorbed punishing screens, and still couldn't buy a whistle. Game after game, Clark's pain is met with referee indifference, and the fans are left wondering if they're watching basketball or theater. This wouldn't sting so much if Clark weren't the one carrying the league's ratings on her back. When she plays, the WNBA pulls in record-breaking viewership, millions of eyeballs that had never tuned in before. Yet despite her undeniable impact, the league seems more eager to promote someone else as the face of the future. Enter A'ja Wilson, Las Vegas Aces superstar and media darling. In one Fever Aces matchup, Wilson got 13 free throws, nearly as many as Indiana's entire team combined. Every Fever rally was slowed by a perfectly timed whistle against them, while Wilson was gifted chance after chance at the line. Fans don't have to be conspiracy theorists to see what looks like a crown being handed out on purpose. The numbers tell their own story. A Sun vs. Aces game supposedly featuring the league's biggest star managed just 100,000 viewers. Pathetic for 2025, especially compared to Clark's lowest mark this season, 580,000. The people have already chosen who they want to watch. But the league seems determined to force-feed its narrative, spotlighting Wilson while Clark takes the hits both figuratively and literally. Even Fever coach Stephanie White couldn't hold her tongue, pointing out a -31 free throw discrepancy across recent games and calling the treatment pretty egregious. Coaches rarely speak that bluntly, which makes her frustration all the more telling. And then there's the money trail. Fans are speculating that the refs' questionable calls aren't just about favoritism, they could be tied to betting. Sports gambling has exploded, and one whistle or non-whistle can swing a line by thousands, even millions. History backs up the concern. NBA referee Tim Donaghy was sentenced to prison for feeding inside information and influencing games, and his scandal nearly cratered trust in the NBA itself. If it can happen there, why not here, in a league suddenly flush with attention and money? The margins may be small, but the profits are not. Which brings everything back to Cathy Engelbert. Her name has already been tied to transactions and travel perks allegedly flowing to referees. Yet, as the firestorm grows, she has stayed silent. No statement. No press conference. No denial. For the leader of a league trying to establish legitimacy, the refusal to defend herself only fuels suspicion. Fans are demanding her resignation, arguing that without clean leadership, the WNBA will never escape the shadow of corruption. The longer Engelbert stays quiet, the more that narrative takes root. Sponsors are watching too, and they don't like uncertainty. Brands that invested in the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark's explosion don't want to be associated with a rigged game. They want empowerment, not scandal. If faith in officiating collapses, sponsors will walk, players will question their futures, and the league's momentum will evaporate. Some fans are even floating the nuclear option: bring in Adam Silver and the NBA to take over. It might sound drastic, but with accountability and credibility at stake, that kind of reset could be the only way forward. Because this isn't just about Clark getting hit on a drive or Wilson shooting a few extra free throws. This is about trust. Trust in the refs. Trust in the commissioner. Trust that when fans tune in, the outcome isn't already decided before tip-off. Once that trust is gone, no amount of marketing, no slick promos about empowerment will save the league. The WNBA is at a crossroads. On one side is legitimacy, fairness, and the chance to ride Caitlin Clark's wave into a new golden era of women's basketball. On the other is silence, favoritism, and manipulation that could drag everything back into obscurity. With investigations now reportedly underway and fans already suspecting the worst, time is running out. Either the league cleans house or it crumbles under its own scandal. And as the internet keeps buzzing, one question echoes louder than all the rest. Will the WNBA finally protect its brightest star and prove the game is real, or will it keep choosing corruption over credibility? Because if this leak is just the beginning, the storm that's coming could shake the league to its core.